You think you can survive without me? When Elellaner hung up, Richard and Diana's world had already begun to crumble. Hours later, the mansion was empty, their credit cards declined, and all the privileges they had relied on her for turned to ashes. They could only point fingers at each other, lost in their own disgrace and regret. A few days earlier, that text still churned in her mind. Elellaner, Richard and I decided to spend Thanksgiving on our own this year. Without you. The words cut through years of tolerance and restraint like a knife. Marcus whispered. They really did it? Elellaner only nodded slightly, her gaze drifting toward the flickering lights of Biscayne Bay. That night, she knew she could no longer cover their expenses, nor be treated as an optional backup. Since the age of 25, Elellaner's life had been tightly bound to her family's endless pit. She worked as the asset management director at a Miami tech firm, overseeing portfolios worth tens of millions, while at home, she was the silent pillar, paying Diana's rent, covering Brendan's tuition and medical bills, funding every extracurricular activity for Vivian. Her achievements were never solely for herself, they sustained a multi-state family network. When she first met Richard, she had already exceeded his professional expectations, but his handshake carried scrutiny, as if measuring her worth. Diana's gentle smile always carried orders and expectations. She viewed Elellaner's success as a shield for the family, not as a source of pride for her daughter. Elellaner remembered every small humiliation. Gifts overshadowed by Brendan in front of classmates during high school. Embarrassing moments secretly filmed by Vivian and posted on social media in college. Every cold neglect quietly reminding her that her efforts were taken for granted. Marcus was the only partner who truly understood her. He often urged her to set boundaries, but Elellaner always believed the family's dependency was temporary. Give to keep the peace, she told herself. But the so-called peace had always been superficial. Her contributions had never been valued. That text arrived at 4:15 p.m., just as she finished a meeting with the Asia team. Diana's familiar blue message bubble popped up. Hi honey. Just letting you know Richard and I decided to keep Thanksgiving small this year. We booked the Malibu Beach Resort. Love you. Elellaner lifted her eyes slightly, her lips not twitching. She turned to Marcus and said simply, not surprised. Sunlight reflected off the rippling waves outside, but her back remained as calm and unyielding as steel. She knew this was not just a text, it was the final expression of years of condescension. That evening, the family celebrated at the Malibu Beach Resort, which Elellaner had booked. She and Marcus had a quiet, subdued dinner in their Miami apartment. Her phone lit up again, Vivian's uploaded video showing their laughter and joy. Grandmother Helen handing a family heirloom diamond necklace to Vivian, while Elellaner had paid for all of it. They've gone too far, Marcus muttered. Elellaner only furrowed her brows slightly, tapping the tabletop with precise, deliberate force like playing a piano. At that moment she made a decision. Years of tolerance and sacrifice must end. Revenge began that very night. Elellaner sat in the home office, logging into the company financial system, Marcus close behind. Numbers on the screen resembled a cold battlefield. Every expense was clear, yet in her eyes, they flickered with both fragility and anger. They started with the most significant costs. Brendan's insurance, Richard and Diana's mansion rent, yacht memberships, and luxury car loans. Elellaner's fingers moved across the keyboard like commands issued with surgical precision. Brendan's insurance was first. She entered the cancellation command, the system prompted for confirmation, and she clicked without hesitation. The screen flickered, a cold verdict. Marcus double-checked the accounts and whispered, "There's also Brendan's dental add-on. Don't forget it." Elellaner nodded and terminated that too, ensuring nothing was overlooked. Next came Richard and Diana's mansion rent. Elellaner meticulously cross-checked each month's automatic payment against the lease, confirming amounts before canceling each one, her movements sharp and unhesitant. Marcus silently recorded timestamps, just in case they were later questioned or threatened. Yacht memberships and luxury car loans were cut off in succession. Elellaner clicked a few buttons. The system's green autopay indicators turned gray, as if the floor beneath the Sterling's extravagance had been instantly pulled away. Marcus couldn't help but whisper in admiration, "You're ruthless." Elellaner only raised an eyebrow, focused and unyielding. Every confirmation page was executed with calm precision. Each disappearing number was an unspoken warning. At 10:13 p.m., the last transaction completed. The screen read, "All selected automatic payments have been canceled." Elellaner leaned back in her chair, hands finally relaxing as if completing a surgical procedure. Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder, feeling the tension ease slightly, yet aware this was only the beginning. The Sterling's network of dependence was beginning to collapse, and they were completely oblivious. Every cut automatic payment was a direct response to years of entitlement and arrogance. Elellaner's revenge was silent, yet more lethal than any scream. The next morning, the East Coast wind still carried a chill. Richard's credit card was declined at a cafe. Brendan's insurance company called to complain about failed payments. Diana and Richard scrambled to contact her, only to receive a spreadsheet, a 3-year record of every expense she had covered for them, each entry clearly marked as her personal funds. "What the hell are you doing? Fix this immediately," Richard roared in the group chat. Elellaner replied calmly, "The structure you relied on is terminated. I have reallocated the funds to secure my independence and safety. Please manage your affairs from here on." The phone rang again, Richard's fury boiling over, but Elellaner's voice was icy. "You have 30 seconds to state your purpose or the call ends." Panicked, he stammered, "You'll ruin Brendan's treatment. I'll sue you." Elellaner paused, then said slowly, "Your dependence is your problem. Brendan's treatment is documented. My contribution ends here." She hung up, turning to Marcus with a long exhale, exhausted but relieved. In the following weeks, the Sterling family fell into chaos. Diana and Richard, unable to pay the mansion rent, were forced to move, hunting for cheap accommodations and seeking help from distant relatives. Brendan had to personally navigate insurance options and alternative medical arrangements, confronting responsibility for the first time. Vivian stayed silent, finally grasping that privileges were not free. Elellaner and Marcus reclaimed control of their lives, planning a trip to Malibu, not as silent providers, but as respected participants. Her life returned to her hands, with energy once spent managing family crises now fueling her career and marriage. Ultimately, Elellaner learned a profound lesson. Giving should never become slavery, and boundaries are the only shield of self-preservation. She liberated herself from long-term dependency and passivity, calm yet resolute, proving through action rather than words that malice and arrogance inevitably create their own troubles. Pride and intelligence were the indestructible defense. Marcus held her hand as the Miami sunrise stretched across the horizon. Elellaner smiled softly, a smile of release, of victory. She was no longer the reliable daughter to be exploited, but Elellaner Vance, master of her own life.